This is episode 101 of the Wilderness Locals podcast. On this episode, Wacedog has on Mindy Gibson of St. Lawrence Traditional Strings. Mindy has a really unique story, and Wacedog gets into it with her. I think you guys will really enjoy this episode. This podcast is brought to you by Kafaru International. Kafaru makes absolutely bomb-proof gear that is second to none. Kafaru.net, folks. There are a few groups in North America that put boots to the ground, like the Wild Sheep Society of BC. Contrary to popular belief, Wild Sheep Society BC isn't just about sheep. The majority of their projects benefit a variety of ungulates and other wildlife. Check them out at www.wildsheepsociety.com. Great folks over there. I'm a Monarch member. You should be too. And as always, go check out our friends over at Just Shooting Arrows. Just Shooting Arrows is BC's premier archery shop.
Okay, cool. So why don't we start? Just tell everyone who you are and what you do and where you're from and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so my name is Mindy Gibson. I'm from... I live in Brockville, Ontario, and I run the owner and builder of St. Lawrence Traditional. I was calling it St. Lawrence Strings, but with the addition of wood arrows, I thought St. Lawrence Strings arrows doesn't really vibe well. So I built custom Flemish twist bowstrings, and I've just started with wood arrows.
I seen that. That's cool. I have a lot of respect for anybody that messes with wood arrows because I tried wood arrows before and I never had a good run with them. So that's cool that you guys.
It's fun. Cresting is quite relaxing actually. So yeah,
that's cool.
I just started on like our own arrows and it was nice, and so then I upgraded my equipment and started making them to sell.
That's cool. That's awesome. So your husband, his name's Cary, right?
Cary, yeah.
Cary. So Cary, is that how you kind of got into all this? Was through Cary, or did you just grow up with traditional?
Yeah, no, I grew up in the city of Ottawa, and I was not an outdoors kid whatsoever. And nobody in my family, neither of my parents were doing any of this kind of stuff. So, I was a donating member of PETA, and, I definitely did not agree or believe in hunting. And so, it wasn't until I met him that he's pretty much been an outdoorsman his whole life and been hunting a really long time. So he kind of introduced me to it and, made me understand the importance of hunting for game management and things like that. And definitely changed my perspective on everything that I kind of thought that I knew. And and he had made a couple self bows back in the day. So he gave me one of those and I shot a little bit. And, I didn't really actually get like a connection with archery until we were at Cabela's one day and I was shooting a compound. And then it was kind of like, wow, this is really cool. And then I got, a black hunter longbow and then eventually upgraded to a Tolkien. And now it's just kind of our lifestyle.
Yeah. Hats off to Cary from taking a PETA member to a badass bow hunter. Good job, Cary.
Yeah. 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 I wanted to, that there was a point in my life when I was younger that, I wanted to be a vegetarian and, because I'd seen all those horrible PETA videos and I was getting their magazine and stuff. And it was really my mom was, I was still a kid. So she was like, yeah, I'm not making special dinners, for you. And, she would just make the meat anyways. And so I would, have to eat it. And so it just didn't really turn out the whole vegetarian part, but I still, my heart wanted to, and
Yeah.
but yeah, and you know what, part of me still thinks that they do some good stuff, with testing on animals and things like that, and there's a lot of unnecessary cruelty and things like that. So I do think that they do good work, but they're just kind of over the board on
Yeah.
aspects that I guess they just don't
And I
care,
think
understand. I don't know. So
I think it's a pretty common theme too, with people that don't want to participate in the, they don't want to buy meat from the grocery store anymore. They don't know if it's ethically sourced or this or that. So I think that's where a lot of the newer hunters are coming from too. And I think, I don't think it's a bad thing. And I think,
yeah.
It's either I think people feel like they really only have two options. It's either they get their own meat or they're vegan. So it's kind of,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, like, there's a difference between, hunting and shooting an animal with whether you shoot, bows or whether you shoot guns, and then, doing it. Like, I feel like they think hunters are out there with knives and they're running through the bush and they're like just, jumping on the backs of animals and slitting their throats and, like some crazy scenario, and it's not really like that. I mean, we talk about it. I'd love to homestead and have country setting and have chickens and like meat birds and things like that. And I'm thinking, like, I don't think I could actually kill like a chicken like with my bare hands. Like shooting an arrow at an animal is. I just feel like it's a different thing for me, and I think I'd have to have Cary do it. I'll process the birds, I'll process the meat and stuff, but I don't think I can actually, with my two hands with a knife and actually, kill it. And then that's the difference. Like, you can still, have those feelings and not necessarily want to be like killing the animals, with your bare hands is just different.
That's kind of our setup right now. Like my wife, she just got in the mail 2 days ago, 70, they come this little tiny chicks, but you just order them from the hatcheries, but she got 70 butcher birds and then four butcher turkeys. And then a couple weeks ago we had half a dozen hogs that we raised. So we kind of like, a lot of our meat is wild meat, but we also substitute it, right? Like it's nice to have a freezer full of your own raised chickens and stuff. But she's the same as you. She doesn't want to be the axe man for butchering chickens. That's my job.
Yeah, I feel like it's way too hands-on. And like when you're up in a tree stand and all you have to do is like, well, I mean, there's more to it, but I'm saying like go with an arrow, it's not. It's your hand doing it, but it's not physically my hand killing it, So, I feel like I can watch the arrow go, but I don't think I could actually like slaughter a chicken or something. But
yeah, and that's
we actually got four laying hens. We've had them a week now. So, and we're in the city, and so we're trying our best to.
Oh yeah. I remember when my wife first she says to me, there was an old lady who was sick and she was dying, and so she had this chicken coop, a pretty nice chicken coop, and she had it for sale on the internet, and it was buy the coop and it was like 8 or 10 chickens. She says, will you go get this for me? And I said, okay. So I had to get a couple guys and some trailers and a bobcat. And so I got all this loaded up, and them 10 chickens is now, we got like 130 birds.
Oh, wow.
So it escalates really quickly. So be careful.
Yeah. Well, they say like there's a thing called chicken math, and you think you are going to start or just keep a small amount, and then all of a sudden it's just you have a ton of them. But in town, I think we're limited. I think we're limited to only 4. We're not allowed roosters. Mm-hmm. So we just have the 4 hens. And the plan is within the next, I say it's my like 5-year plan, that we move from the city and get a country home and kind of have a little. I just want a little homestead.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. It's so are you guys getting 4 eggs a day? Are they pretty consistent, those hens, or?
Not really, no. So we definitely get at least 2 a day. We've had a couple days where we get 3. We have not gotten 4 in one day. So they seem to be like every other day hens. So.
Yeah, that's funny like that. So like, we have our main laying group. So we had about 45 that were like our main layers because we're always rotating them in and out. And then I had a freaking bear come in last week and he grabbed 10 of them. So
Oh, wow.
we kind of, because we just let our birds free range. Like we don't really keep them in a chicken run. So we just lock them up in the coop at night and then in the morning we let them out. And I've had this bear hanging around, and he likes to eat chickens, so it's a pain in my ass right now. So
everything loves chicken.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said everything eats chickens, from birds to weasels and everything in between. So
even chickens eat chicken. So
Okay, so how did you get into? This is the $1 million question. How did you get into building strings? And in my opinion, being one of the best string builders in Canada, if not the best.
Yeah, well, it kind of just started that, Cary had mentioned it, and he's like, I think you could probably do this and build our own strings. And so we watched, I watched the DVD doing the twist by Chad Weaver, and it kind of just went from there. And I thought, I think I could probably do this. So I ordered some material and tried it myself, and got some help from Blaine at Stump Stalker and Chad himself, and my first ones definitely were not good at all. I watched a bunch of videos online and got a little bit better, and then it was Cody Greenwood at Trad Lab that he messaged me or I think actually him and Cary were talking, and he said, well, send me one of your strings and we'll see, what they're like. So I sent one to him, and he had some, feedback on them, and I guess, he saw potential in what I was doing, and actually hooked me up with Trevor Fielder. And I definitely everything that my strings are today are definitely because of Trevor. So he kind of took me under his wing, and I sent him actually I sent him a couple strings of mine, so he was able to I didn't. He looked at them online from pictures and stuff, and he was able to say, okay, yes, I see this, and here are some tips on how to improve this, and I can see this is maybe not the best. And so he really helped me out like 100% on what I've got, and I wouldn't be anywhere that I am today without his help. I probably would have figured out a few things that I was lacking as I went, but there are just some things like calculations and things like that I would have never, ever figured out on my own. So, I definitely, the quality that I have right now, I owe to Trevor for sure. And he's a great guy. So he, answered any questions I had, and so.
Yeah, because I think personally, I've had strings from everywhere. I've had strings from Scotland and Montana, all over the damn place. And I was always looking for strings, and it seemed like the quality on a lot of the strings just were never there. And and then what ended up happening was I ended up getting my bows were being real loud, right? So I'd get a real twangy bows, and I was having problems. My strings would just seem like there was never ending stretch, like I was always changing brace. And then I came across Triple T. So I was buying Trevor's strings for quite a while. And then the shipping and everything was brutal. And he's like, hey, you know what? There's a girl up in Canada that makes, if not as good or better strings than me. And then that's kind of how I came across you guys.
No, yeah.
So
well, I feel like the more I make, the more I get better at it, and find little quirks that work or don't work. And, I watched like tons of videos online, and everybody does a little bit different. And, like even with Trevor giving me all of his tips, I think like nobody is going to build them the exact same. Right. So, there's always going to be something a little bit different between, each person doing it. So,
and with that too, like even with the strings, because there's certain limb tips that can't take certain types of material. So you got to know all that too. When somebody's building a bow, or when you're building strings for somebody, you kind of got to know what bow they have too, right?
Yeah. So I do offer D97 and I do have B55. I absolutely hate working with B55. It is the worst material. I don't know how people, build them all the time. It's awful. So I don't enjoy, as soon as somebody tells me, they have, an old bow or they need to be a 55 string, I'm like, ugh, okay. All right, fine. So it's so hard to work with. So I definitely prefer the D97, but unfortunately, there are a few. Actually have to building a couple right now, B55s for somebody, but you can't have. You got to take the good with the bad. You can't just
Yeah. So do you?
There's always something in work that you don't like, but
yeah. So because when you built that last string for me, you asked what knocks I was running, and that's the first time. It's the first time anybody's ever asked me that. So I was like, okay, that's cool, and it fit awesome
there's just tons of, well, I shouldn't say tons. There's tons of different knocks, but there's different serving sizes, right? So if you have a large knock, I can't put on a small serving. So and I have a bunch of knocks here. So if you tell me you have a classic or some of the different carbon knocks, I've got kind of like a bucket of a bunch of them. So I just put on some serving and test it out, and if it's a little bit too loose or too tight, then I can go up or down in size.
What do you think? This is about Tolkien. When you bought your Tolkien, did they send you a string with it?
They did, yeah.
So what do you think of that string? Because that's a pretty thin string. I wasn't a fan of it. I instantly, like when Jared's probably going to hear this, when Jared sent me his bow and with the string that they sent with it, I just phoned Trevor right away. I'm like, hey, I need a string for this bow. It just felt like it was a little thin and my knocks fit a little too loose on it, Yeah,
so I'm pretty sure they use, I think it's mercury for the material that they use. So it's just, super, super tiny. So you need, like I do like a 14 strand D97, and I think the mercury, the Tolkien strings, I think they're like 16 strand or something like that. But, or eight strand anyways, but it's a really, thin material compared to D97. So it just makes a smaller string overall. So, and the thing is, like, they don't know what, knocks you're shooting. So if you have a really tiny knock or you're shooting, carbons or something with a really small knock, then they might work better. But if you, have a larger knock, it's just, it's not going to work. Now, to get around that though, if you heat up, like boil water in a little cup and put your knocks in the cup, and then you can push them in and kind of like mold them to be a little bit smaller. But I mean, it's not really ideal. People don't really, want to have to do that. But if you do get a string and your serving is too small, it is kind of a workaround that you can make your knocks a bit smaller.
And I think like the smaller string that you do gain some feet per second, but I don't know how much you'd gain with it, so.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about like all of the different materials. If it is mercury that they use, like I don't really know a lot about it. So some of them have higher abrasion resistance than others. So like when I started out, it was really Trevor that was like, 14 strand is the best because it has the best abrasion. So I was actually making 10 strands, and we were doing some testing here, and Cary really liked the 10 strand, but it just doesn't have the, like the abrasion resistance and the wear. It wears a lot faster than the 14 strand will. So, and I don't, like I said, I don't really know Mercury, what their, durability is for long term. And obviously if you shoot, like 8 times a day, like Cary does, or, compared to somebody who doesn't shoot every single day, your strings are going to wear out faster. But that's kind of what I found for, the thicker strings are going to last a little bit longer. But like the Tolkien strings overall, like, they're not bad.
No, they're good strings.
They're still really good strings. And I think like the reason why obviously Cary shoots my strings, because I'd probably kill him if he didn't, but they just have a different sound to them. There's, kind of like a ping and a pang. So, they're still good, but they just have a different sound to them.
And there's nothing worse than when you get a string or you see somebody on TV. I see this all the time, and they got like the craziest silencers on their string. Like they got like failed cat whiskers just like hanging, drooping.
The super long ones. Yeah.
That drives me.
I've seen a lot of those. That
drives me absolutely nuts. So when like I love those little cat whiskers that you guys do, like you and Trevor, like them, just some tiny. Tolkien does them too. They're just tiny, nice, clean. They look good. They don't slow the string down too much, but enough that it takes a twang out of everything,
Yeah. Yeah. And there's different ways to put them in. Like Tolkien, they put them through the string, and like Trevor and I we put them on the outside. So you kind of get like the Tolkies, when you take the string off the bow, they change shape, right? They kind of like lay flat. Whereas like ours, they're just a perfect ball all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll have to quiz Jared about those strings a little bit, see what he says. But so
and his are also I'm pretty sure they're endless loop.
They are
Jared's strings too. Yeah, so they're a little different. So
maybe that's a good kind of segue. Maybe you could explain to people like the difference between endless loop and Flemish.
To be honest, I don't really know a whole lot about the endless loop. Just that they've got like that outer like serving on the loops and stuff. Trevor is definitely the guy to go to for endless loop for sure. He started making those,
because that's the only endless loop I ever had, I think. But everything else has just been Flemish twist for me with that. So no, that's cool.
Yeah. I think that's the most like popular, type is the Flemish twist, and then
No, cool.
I don't have any of the stuff to do I think there's different equipment that you need for the endless loop.
And I think like Trevor's strings, like, so all my buddies, like I get people all the time, quite a few people ask me about strings and where do I buy strings, and because like a lot of the strings that you get, like a buddy of mine just got a Satori, and the string that came with it is kind of similar to like what Bear sends. It's just not really a good string. It's just kind of whatever. So I think it's important. I think that people don't really understand the importance of a string on a stick bow. Like I think, if they say, "Oh, I just came with the bow," and they'll keep it on there for 5 or 6 years, I think you can do some damage to your bow eventually, because what happens is you just end up running the life of that string. And it's going to break. And I've had strings break like that. Yeah.
Well, the thing I've kind of seen in, Cary says is like, bowyers, they're bowyers. They're not necessarily string builders. So, some of them, I don't know, I guess maybe they build their own, maybe they outsource. I'm not really sure. But, I mean, I'm not a bowyer. I build the strings, but I can't. I'd probably make a pretty shitty bow. So you know what I mean. So like sometimes I think it depends. Like obviously I can't put everybody in the same category, but from what I've seen and from what I've heard and things, is typically like they can make a really great bow, but the string is kind of just like slapped on afterwards. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely a good idea to get something that is quality, and it's going to definitely, can increase your feet per second. It can quiet it down, which is important in a hunting situation. So,
have you built any strings for any super recurves or anything like that?
I don't think so.
Actually, you have.
I don't think I have.
I think you have. A buddy of mine ordered some. I think in Alberta for his bow. It was a border, but that was another thing. So with the super recurves, I can't remember what they call it, but it's like the strings that they recommend have a certain amount of rebound or like stretch off each shot, kind of. And I think it comes down to strand count and stuff. So, but I was just wondering if you had built any of those. I'm pretty sure you have. Maybe it was Trevor that built those ones. I can't remember, but
yeah, I'm not too sure. I mean, not that I can think off the top of my head, but.
So what other plans do you guys have? Anything? How did you guys make out turkey hunting this spring?
Well, I had an opportunity. So I had always, my thing with hunting is, I'm comfortable shooting my longbow for sure. But when it comes to, shooting on an animal, I want to be, have that 100% confidence. So I was taking my compound out hunting, and just shooting at a target is different. When you have no sights or shooting instinctive, it's one thing, but then I just kind of feel like I will completely fall apart if I'm shooting my bow at an animal. Right. So I was taking out my compound, and this has now happened to me twice. So it's not going to happen again, but I just get so, I don't know, nervous, excited. And I can't pull back my bow, like my compound. So it happened on our bear hunt that we did last year. I had a bear come out, and I just lose all strength in my arms, and I can't, I can't pull my bow back. So it happened on the bear hunt. And it happened turkey hunting this past season. So
what?
This turkey came out, it was perfect. And I just, Cary had the video up, and I was trying to draw, and I couldn't do it. So I ended up busting the shot, and I think it saw me move or something. I don't know.
So what is
what
does Cary say about all this? is he like, oh, that's okay?
Well, no, he'd always bust my balls about, I'd say, oh, we're, planning to go out, and I'd grab my compound, and he's like, are you kidding me? Like, you should be shooting your longbow, and you're in the trad world, and you shouldn't be shooting this. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but it was just, confidence for me. And obviously it's just not, I'm going to have to get over that. And I'm sure once I take my first shot with my longbow, the fear that I have, I think, will just disappear. But, there's no sense in taking out my compound, because I mean, in my laneway, in the backyard, I can pull that thing back, no problem. It's not that it's too heavy by any means. It's just, I don't know. I just get that adrenaline, and my arms just give out. So,
and it's okay too. Like I think I know I get my balls busted all the time about shooting stuff with a rifle, and I think it's okay to use other weapons. And especially if you don't feel that 100% confidence, like if you're a little bit worried about shooting stuff with a longbow and you want to use a compound, and that's by all means, like that's the best. The whole point of what we're doing is harvesting meat. So
right, yeah, definitely.
So at the end of the day, yeah, like I get it, too, right? I like killing stuff with a bow, but sometimes it's just a little bit easier with the modern equipment, right? So I don't know. I don't see any harm in it at all. I think it's great.
No, definitely not. But I mean, if I get in the situation, animals in front of me, and I can't pull it back, there's just no sense of even trying. So, and that's like, it happened first on the bear hunt. And I thought, just because, it's a friggin' bear, right? So, I'm sure it'll be fine on a turkey or something, a smaller game, but it wasn't. So.
You know Do you know what Cary needs to do? You guys need to just book some plane tickets to Texas, rent a little cabin down there. I got a buddy that does this. And then I think you can do like 5-6 day hog hunts. And just, it's a ton. My buddy did that hunt a few years ago. He goes down with a couple buddies. They rent a cabin. It's like on a ranch or whatever. And then they just, you get all the string time you want. You can shoot anything that's there. So they shoot snakes and hogs and all sorts of stuff. That'd be good. That'd be a good, something like that. Just give you some string time,
Yeah. Yeah.
That's for sure. I should have got him. We should have got a mic rigged up for Cary so I could hear his 2 cents.
Yeah. I think his new Tolkien actually just came in. If you heard my dog barking earlier, it's because the courier guy just came up to the door. So he's got his new Tolkien just came through the door, and he is outside putting that thing together and shooting it.
What did he get?
He got a takedown pika.
Oh yeah, sweet. Because that's all he shoots is Tolkien's, right? Cary?
Yes, yeah. We've got now. There's 3 Tolkiens in the house. This is his 3rd Tolkien actually. So he just came in. Now he's just he's caressing the bow. I guess I got to make a new string for that, eh?
Dude.
Mm-hmm.
So I should have rigged up a mic for Cary. I wanted to hear.
Well, let's see. Do you think if I pull out my headphones here, I think we would probably go through the computer?
Yeah, try it out. Let's see.
Let's try it.
We'll try it mid-stride here, see how it goes.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, that's good.
There you go. All right.
So can you see it, Wace?
No, there's no
there's no audio.
So anyways, this bow took 30 days to get here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was mailed out in the 16th, and today is the 16th.
Oh, wow. I mean,
so all told, it was 24 or 25 days in the U.S., and then the rest Canada Post.
Oh man, shipping is brutal right now.
Yeah, some things come in really quick, and
shipping is terrible. But I already have a pika takedown. This one's a takedown too, but I wanted one that was a darker theme because the other one has Osage on it and kind of lighter limbs. So this one's kind of all dark, like more dark woods, darker limbs and stuff. So now I just have to get my lovely little string maker to whip me up a nice string for it. I kind of got in on the strings, so that's a good thing.
That's awesome. I think people. I mean, once you start shooting Tolkies, I don't think people would shoot anything else. They're such sweet bows, eh?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, and they're just like I've shot for about 35 years. Trad, and I never even really shot compound. Like I think maybe in the late 80s I might have had a couple of them for maybe 6 months, but it wasn't during hunting season. And being left eye dominant and right-handed and not knowing anything about that at the time, like I just couldn't figure out why the sight wasn't working for me. so I pulled the sight off of it and shot better, but I just didn't like it. So I ordered a Martin Mamba, a 60-pound Martin Mamba back then, and that was my first bow, and I've been trad ever since. So every game animal I've killed has been with stick bow. So
Mindy's telling me a story that she can't draw her bow back. Is that true on a turkey?
Yeah. It happened twice actually. So we're in the blind, and this season it was great because we're in a good area, and it's really hilly though and kind of rocky. So it's really hard. I think it's hard for the birds to even pinpoint where you are because it echoes so much up where we are. And we had birds gobbling every single time we went out. And then we had one. So I started what kind of call did I do? Do you remember what kind of call it was? It was, anyway, he came on a string. Like I could see him. Mindy can see farther than me. So she saw him first, and then he just came booking right on a string. And he came right up, and the decoys were only about 7 yards, I think, in front of the blind, maybe 8. And he was right up in there with him, strutting. And, I have the GoPro filming her, and she's like, goes to pull, and I'm like, pull your bow.
I'm struggling.
She's like, I can't draw it. I'm like, what? What do you mean you can't draw it? Just pull your bow. So she tried again, and then she couldn't do it. And she was shooting her compound, and it has one of those whisper biscuit rests on it, and it's pink. So I think the bird saw the bow moving around in there, and he didn't run away. And he didn't make any calls or anything. He just kind of silently turned and just walked away really slow and out of her life. So, yeah, she has a problem.
Yeah, I don't know.
And the same thing happened with...
Oh, good. Sorry. Keep going.
Go ahead.
I said I was going to say, I don't know.
The same thing happened.
Oh, we just got a bit of a lag there. That's all.
There's a lag. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Cary. I'll shut up.
So anyways, what happened, same thing happened at bear when we went to bear hunt last fall in September. She had a bear come in, and not a huge bear, but it would have been a good bear for her first bear, and she couldn't draw her bow.
Yeah, well, I mean, like the bear came in, and it was on the smaller side, and I just wasn't sure, if I should shoot it or not, because I didn't want to take, like this. I mean, it wasn't like a baby. He was probably like maybe a year or so. But it couldn't even reach up to the bait. And, I wasn't really sure that I should take it. And so I thought, well, I had only minutes left of shooting light. And I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to draw on it. I'm going to draw on it. I'll put my pins on it. And, at that point, I'll just see how I feel. Right. So I tried to draw on it, and it was, well, at first I started to pull back, and my release is like leather. So it was making this, and it was dead quiet. So it was making this, the leather creaking noise, and the bear would kind of just look in my direction. It wasn't looking up at me, but it would just look in my direction. And then I let down, and then I try again to pull back, and my release is making this noise, and the bear kept looking at me or looking in my direction. And then I thought, well, you know what? Like, I'm going to lose light. So I'm absolutely not going to be able to shoot this bear. So I'm just going to pull back. And if it sees me and takes off, then it sees me and takes off, whatever. And so I'm trying to pull through, and I couldn't do it. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then, we were right on the edge of light. And anyways, I think it saw me struggle and it took off. But
that's all right though. You'll get it eventually here. I think it's just a jitters a little bit. That's all.
Yeah. I think so. I don't know. It's even like, when I'm going up my tree stand for, usually the first time of the season, I'm kind of really nervous about it. But, when I'm going up the tree stand, and if I'm nervous, I feel like I have no strength in my legs and my arms, and I can't hoist myself up. And I think that's just my thing, is when I get nervous, I just feel like I don't have any muscle.
2 seasons ago was her first time hunting in a tree stand, and I set her up a stand, and I think it was maybe 14 or 15 feet. Mm-hmm. So, and I was in a stand not that far from her, maybe 15 yards, because I wanted to be close, just keep an eye on her. And it literally took her 45 minutes to get in that tree. Yeah. So I had to go over, and I'm like, get in the tree. And she's like making all this noise, and her leg was shaking like a dog shitting razor blades. And she's hanging on the step, and her legs are just vibrating. And I'm standing down there, just get in. So after about 15 or 20 minutes standing down there coaching her, I said, well, I'm going to get in my tree.
But so. I think you ended up moving my stand, like repositioning it for me.
Yeah, I had to take a stick out and bring it down lower.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then And then I got in my stand and I looked back at her. Like, I just told myself, I'm not even going to look at her. I'm just going to let her do her thing and stuff, because the hunt's probably already ruined now. And I was sweating balls from having to go back and reset her set. So I'm in my stand and I look back and she is sitting on the platform of the stand, hanging on to the seat. And she wouldn't get up. She wouldn't get up there. She's facing the tree. And hanging on, kneeling on the platform, kind of sitting on it and hanging on to the seat. So I kind of whisper back at her, "Get on your tree, get in the seat." And she's, "I can't." So anyway, eventually she did, and I got some pictures of her sitting back there. And man, her face is white, and she looked terrified.
Well, you have a video of me where I'm just like, I'm hanging on to my tie-in above, and the tail of the tie-in is coming down, and I'm gripping the tail of this rope, and oh my gosh, like I don't do heights. I'm terrified of heights. Cary gets up on the house and shoots from the roof.
I'm also an arborist though, so big difference.
But he's telling me, he's like, "Oh, get up on the roof, and shoot, practice elevation and stuff." And I think I got like almost to the top of the ladder, and I just couldn't. Like, I can't do heights. Heights are not my thing. But now that we're a couple seasons in, I'm definitely a lot better. I can, like, the first couple times going up the tree stand, I'm a little nervous, but I doesn't take me 45 minutes, that's for sure. But then, as season goes on, I'm like shooting up that tree stand and in, and I'm comfortable now. But
I think you're pretty lucky to have a guy
I may actually
like Cary teaching you kind of the ropes too. So that's nice. A lot of people would kill for it to be married to a veteran bow hunter like that.
Yeah.
It helps too that I've spent so many years as an arborist, like 20 years climbing trees and knowing the different systems and single rope and all that stuff. So I'm super comfortable in there, and I like saddle hunting, but I'll be honest, I like tree stand hunting better. But saddle hunting has its places for sure. But I spend so much time hanging in a saddle for work that I really don't have a lot of. Go ahead.
Oh, this lag is killing me, Cary.
I don't have a lot of.
I just wanted to say, do you remember back in the day? So this is like pre-new tree stand technology. Do you remember the old stands that we had? And then we had them stupid pegs you could screw in or pound in, and like you'd be like hanging on with one arm, screwing in them stupid pegs. And oh man, I had one of those pegs break on me, and I was like 20 feet, and I fell one time. And so I remember the old technology sucked, like compared to now with these sticks and stuff. It's so easy, right? You just slam your sticks off and you're 20 feet in freaking 15 minutes,
Yeah, and I know those screw-in steps. I know a few guys that got ripped open pretty bad falling. It like in the dark, trying to come down, slipping and missing a step. And a friend of mine tore the inside of his leg up doing that. I think he ended up with like 48 or 58 stitches or something, or staples to close it. He's lucky he didn't die. Like he just missed the femoral artery when he fell, but. And trying to screw those things into like a hardwood, like a maple or an oak, forget it.
Exactly. Yep.
You'd be all day doing it. Personally, my favorite system are sticks. I got the full length lone wolves, and then I flipped them and cut them to 18 inches. And then I just flip the hardware, and you have instant mini sticks. And, I use those just because they're lighter, and because I am a little more comfortable in a tree. So I'll kind of stretch those sticks out as far as I can, and use, I have little miniators that I've got for each stick. So with 3 mini sticks, I can get at least 16 feet. Mm-hmm. And, but yeah, like I've had so many guys ask me questions, or you see frankly, it terrifies me. I did a podcast with Jason Samkoviak about it, and it terrifies me seeing some of these forums and these Facebook groups, these saddle groups, and all these guys, trying all this different shit out in a tree when they're hunting. And like, I've been doing this stuff for 20 years and I know the risk of being in a tree or possibly, something going wrong. And a lot of these guys doing the one stick. And if you can do it well, I mean, that's good, but most people can't do it well. And then they seem to forget that you have to come down in the dark a lot of times if you're doing a one stick, because if you one stick, you have no other way out. Yep. So these guys are rappelling out, and they have a little piece of tagline that once they get to the ground, they'll pull on that and it'll open the loop and theoretically bring your rappelling rope back down to you. But I can tell you from years of experience that doesn't always happen. Mm-hmm. So you sometimes it's going to hang up sooner or later, or sooner or later you may drop that stick. You're trying to move that stick and you drop it or something. It's just like you working a climbing tree stand. And, if you don't hook in or you forget to hook in or something happens and you lose the bottom of it, it's not fun. I've had that happen before too.
Yeah, so have I. So
yeah, one of my foot straps broke. It was that stupid piece of shit hawk climber. I hate that thing. I used it once, killed a deer out of it, and then I sold it. Mm-hmm. But first time using it, going up, the 1 foot strap connector broke, and then the other one broke. So of course I'm sitting there hanging in the tree, holding on to it barely with 1 foot, and I was probably 20 feet up, but just because I do it for a living and I'm a lot more comfortable at height, I just kind of sat on the part that you sit on when you're going up, and just kind of sat there and thought it out and reached down, grabbed the bottom platform, tossed it to the ground. And then I was in a cedar. There was another one right beside me. So I just kind of transferred over to the other cedar and got down. Mm. But I mean, anything can and will happen. And my advice is I like mini sticks, and wear your friggin' linesman belt when you're putting them on.
Yep. Yeah.
You remember back in the old days, you're talking about hanging on with one hand, trying to screw a step in, or hanging on with one hand, trying to swing one of those heavy ass steel tree stands around and hook it on. It's lucky more people didn't die.
Oh, it was terrible. I hated it. And the day I started using sticks and a lineman belt, got away from all that old shit that we used to use, it's just way, way better. It's we use, and then you'd get into a hard tree, a hardwood or a frozen tree, and you're fighting those pegs. Oh my God, it was terrible. Technology is good for this stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I'm actually thinking about getting Mindy into a saddle system this year, because still now I have to hang all of her sets for her because she's not comfortable at hanging a stand. But one of my systems I have are 4 mini sticks, and the top stick has one of those outdoor artisan mini platforms on them. Have you seen those?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, when you put your last stick on, that's your platform. So you just tether in, you have your linesman belt on, you set your tether, take your, check it, take your linesman belt off and pull your shit up, hang it up, and you're hunting. So I'm sure that Mindy could easily put the sticks on and then go up. It's just the whole hanging tree stand, having one on her back, and then taking it off and hanging it on the tree after she's up there. Mm-hmm. So I think the saddle system, we're going to try it this summer, but I think the saddle system would be so much easier for her. And they are more comfortable actually when you set them right, mm-hmm. to sit in. And women, biologically have wider hips than us. So saddles kind of disperse the pressure on them a lot better than us.
How did you find, Cary, all them years of hunting out of climbers with a stick bow? Because I absolutely hated it. I always fought with that bar, and I'd always have to lower my sitting, the part you sit on, I'd always have to drop it to try and shoot. And I just kind of gave up on climbers a long time ago.
Yeah, like I said, I only tried that one. I only had the one climber. I bought it and used it one. I think I practiced once or twice sailing, and then I took it to the woods and it broke. And then the second time I took it to the woods, I got up, and it wasn't too bad the second time, but I got up maybe about 22 feet, shot a deer, and then it's the whole thing that oh shit, I got to get back down again. So it's not like just climbing down your sticks and going down and tracking the deer. You know, it takes a while. You got to get down. You're excited and all that stuff, and then you got to take it all apart and stuff. And nah, it's not for me personally. If I was going to use a climber, I think the Lone Wolf hand climber is probably the best. That small one.
Yep.
But because we use strictly Lone Wolf tree stands now, and I would never go back to a shitty old steel stand.
Yeah.
Just the cast. I mean, they're made well. They last forever.
They're light.
And the thing is, cast aluminum is super quiet. Like if you drop something on it, like an arrow or anything else, it kind of has like a dull thud. But if you drop something on a steel stand, yeah, good luck.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's loud. It makes a lot of noise.
I got it because I got a shed full of old steel stands too, and I think a guy gets hung up on them, and you're like, "Oh, this was a good stand back," so you keep it, and yeah, when you should be just tossing them out. To be honest, some of them. So,
did Mindy tell you about the deer story that she had a really nice buck coming in, and I blew it for her?
No, I never heard that one.
No, I didn't.
No, go ahead, Lou. Tell that one because that's funny.
So we was it the first year or the second year? I think it was the second.
Second year we hunted.
The second season that we hunted, we always kind of hunted together, like separate stands, obviously, but within the same area. And so he was I don't know how far from me, but anyways. We were both up in our stands, and I see this buck coming off of my right-hand side, and we had a big corn pile out. And this buck is coming like directly to the corn. His head was kind of down. He was looking at the pile, and he was coming right in.
And it was late season, December.
Yeah, it was late season, and we only had I think it was like a week or something left.
Less than a week
in the season, and anyways, I see this buck coming in. I'm like, oh my God. And it's perfect angle, right for me to take the shot. And anyway, so he's coming in, and I'm looking over at Cary, and he's sitting still. He's just sitting there with his kind of hands in his lap. And so I'm like, okay, it was coming like head on to him. So I'm like, he definitely sees this guy coming. And so I'm kind of got myself in position, and I wasn't even going to stand up because I was pretty exposed to where I was sitting to this deer. And if I stood up, I thought for sure he would see me. So I just kind of positioned myself in the seat, and I was going to take the shot sitting down. And so I'm completely ready. I've got my releases hooked onto the bow, and, I'm just waiting for him to come in, and I was going to pull back. And then he's, I don't know, maybe like 30 yards to the corn pile, and I'm just watching the deer, and he stops, and he just looks right up directly at Cary, and I look over at him, and this friggin' guy is standing up facing the opposite direction,
glassing for deer
with his binoculars, looking behind him. I look back at the deer, and the deer, he just turns around and runs off. And I was so mad. And I just yelled over, and I'm like, are you effing kidding me? he's like, shh, shh. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, did you not see that buck? And he's like, no. And I'm like, oh my God. I mean, like, hindsight, I probably wouldn't have been able to pull my bow back because we've learned that lesson now. But probably wouldn't have shot it anyways. But I was so mad.
He was a nice buck too. He was probably in the 150 class. And I mean, it would have been a stellar buck for anybody's first buck, well, for any buck. But So I kind of vindicated myself after, and I said, well, you know what? I said, that's too good a buck for your first buck. I said, you'd be spoiled after that, and, your expectations be too high. And I said, plus, I said, you have to pay your dues. You got to pay your dues. You got to pay the hunting guy and stuff. So anyways, but yeah, I totally blew it. I didn't see him coming because it was kind of thicker brush, and he was directly in front of me, and I didn't see him, and she didn't, because Mindy can sit in a stand like fucking Buddha. You know what I mean? Like, she can sit there all day and not move. Yeah. Or I can't. I have to put my stands high because I have ADHD, so I cannot sit still. And
did you ever see the deer at all?
No, I never saw it. I saw him on camera. I saw him on camera lots of times after.
Yeah, we had pictures of him on camera, and
yeah, he's a beauty. He's a big. I think it was a 10 point. I'm pretty sure he was a 10, but yeah, I never did see it, only on camera. And, I thought that they were going to be coming from the other way because the wind was not in favor for him to walk into the corn pile from the way he did, but he obviously didn't care, and he walked right in. Yep. So anyway, and I was too high. He was too close, and I was too high, and my scent just blew over him. But me standing up, looking the other direction,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
In an elm tree it was kind of cover, but once you stand up and you start moving, it doesn't matter how big the tree is, they're going to pick you off anyway. But yeah, it's
So one thing I wanted to ask, because we're creeping up on an hour here, I wanted to get this story, because Mindy at the beginning of the podcast said she was PETA and anti-hunting and all that stuff, and I just want to ask, because I think this is a great story, and I think it's kind of where the world is right now. How did you guys meet? And I want to know, how did the process Cary go to convince her that hunting was as good as it is?
Yeah, it's funny because when we met, this is a funny story actually. I'm an arborist and I own a tree care company, but winter is slow, right? So you don't climb in the winter a lot, and the people don't get tree work done in the winter. So I was thinking of something I could do in the winter. So Home Depot came, they were looking for people. So I thought, you know what, I'll work at Home Depot in the wintertime and sell chainsaws or whatever. And little did I realize that they want you to work a whole bunch of hours, spring, summer, and fall, and then hardly any in the winter. So,
well, because you were in seasonal, right?
Yeah, so. I started in seasonal, and I'm thinking, this will be cool. I can sell snowblowers in the winter or whatever. But anyways, when you start there, they make you watch all these stupid, ridiculous videos. I can't remember what they're called. And there's some training videos and stuff. But so I'm walking into the break room, and there's a girl sitting in there with her head down, and then she looks up, and I just saw these blue eyes, beautiful, beautiful girl, and I'm thinking, holy crap. So I stepped back to double take and kind of put my head in around the corner and said, having fun? And she looks up at me and she goes, oh yeah, loads.
Yeah, well, it was my first couple of days I was doing training, and I was a cashier.
Yeah.
And I was in college, and so I was working part-time as a cashier. And so it's the stupid training videos, they were awful. And so I was kind of just tucked back in the corner, and he just came in and talked to me. And
and then I was the only guy at Home Depot. There's a company in San Francisco. They make a thing called a utility kilt. I don't know if you ever heard of them. There's a guy, he's a carpenter in San Francisco, and he got tired of sweating balls all the time. So he invented these kilts that are like man kilts. You know what I mean? Like they have, you can literally fit three bottles of beer in each pocket on them, and it won't pull it down. Just the way they designed it, and they got like hammer pouches on them or holsters and shit like that. So I had this green kilt like this, and I would wear it to work, like wear it right into Home Depot, and all these people, all my coworkers saying, "Man, you have got big balls to wear this in a hardware store." And I said, "Yeah, whatever." And so I'm walking around, and I go by the cashiers, because you have to walk by them sometimes. And Mindy asked another cashier, "Who's that guy in the kilt? What's his name?" So, one thing led to another, and we started dating. And the thing is, like, there is a massive age gap difference between the two of us. Mindy's exactly half my age.
Okay.
So there's a 25-year age gap between us. And, it was touch and go in the beginning and stuff. And we probably broke up more than we were together for a while. And then we'd always get back together. But then I had been out of bow hunting for a couple of years, and I thought, well, I want to get back into it again. So Mindy bought me a PSE Coyote. Do you remember those recurves?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Had one.
Yeah. Garbage
Yeah.
bows, man. I blew up 2 or 3 sets of limbs with that thing, and they just kept sending me new ones.
Yeah, but before that, though, you took me out into a blind. We went deer hunting in the blind.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's when I had my Black Widow. I had a Black Widow recurve. Hated that bow, too.
So he like would, of course, like I was completely against it. I'm like, if you want to eat meat, like that's fine, but why do you have to go out and kill this animal that's, in the wild and just living its life? Like, cows and pigs and chickens are raised for meat. Like, just, go to the store and buy your meat there and, leave these wild animals alone, kind of thing. And he's like, well, just, what, like, we're going to go out deer hunting. We're going to go on a blind and, you can kind of just see it. And so he took me out. We never actually ended up seeing any deer, but that was kind of like the first introduction. We went out into the blind, and I think he told me afterwards, he was like, even if a deer came out, I wouldn't have shot it in front of you. I, just wanted you to see the wildlife and see what it's like and kind of have a different perspective. Because when you're, you never, if you don't do it, you don't see it or anything like that. Your thought process is different, which it definitely was. So that was kind of like the very first step.
And then we had a lot of talks about it too, where I would explain to her, our role in conservation as hunters, because in this area, while they're here now, but in this area, there traditionally have not been a lot of predators for deer, because the coyotes were never here, and the ones that were here were small. Now they're bigger because they bred with the gray wolf, so they're a red wolf, so they're a bigger version of the coyote. And I just tried to explain to her the whole circle of life thing, basically, when it comes to hunting, how game management is so important, and how hunters, all the dollars we put into conservation, like we pretty much the only reason people see deer and wildlife in Ontario now, in the amount, and probably all across Canada, in the amount that they see it, is strictly because of hunters, because no other groups donate that much money. And that many resources and stuff to them. So I'm not even sure. We may have watched Primal Dreams, I think. I might have watched that DVD with you a long time ago.
I don't know.
Mike Mitten, Barry Wenzel, Gene Wenzel. I'm not sure if you've ever seen it, Wace, but it's kind of like a documentary. Not really. It's just kind of a lot of music, but then a lot of narratives where, Barry Wenzel and Gene Wenzel and Mike Mitten, they're kind of narrating through this a little bit. And it just basically, if you ever want to try and get somebody who's not into hunting understand why you bow hunt or hunt in general, Primal Dreams is a good thing to get them to watch.
But like the big thing is you don't realize, like I mean, I'm gonna say that I didn't realize. I mean, I did know, but like it like natural wild, like it's brutal,
Yeah.
like. You see, I'll never forget, actually, it wasn't too long ago, I saw this video of a bear going after a wild hog. And, like wildlife is just, it's insane. Like you think that shooting a deer or whatever animal you're hunting, as a non-hunter is cruel and, but being shot by an arrow is way more humane than it is being eaten by coyotes while you're still alive, or being ripped apart by a bear while you're still alive, so it's not actually as gruesome and cruel as these, people that aren't hunters or aren't exposed to it think, because that was my mindset, was like, that's so, it's so mean, but honestly, they're gonna die anyways,
Yeah,
whether
they don't die of old age, that's for sure.
Not many of them do. So, I mean, I would totally rather shot by an arrow where you don't even really know that you've been shot than to be hunted down by coyotes and eaten from the arse end up, while you're still conscious. I think that way better outcome.
And then how it progressed was I started bow hunting again, and I killed over a couple of years. I killed a couple deer and would call Mindy, and she would come out, help me drag it out, help me gut it. She was holding the legs on one while I was gutting it. And she's like, oh my God, this is so disgusting. And anyway, but the real kicker was when I prepared her some venison cooked properly the right way, because most people who say, oh my God, I had venison once, it was so gross, it was so gamey, is because it was overcooked, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I prepared her a meal, and she absolutely loved it and just said, you need to get more of these. And,
so
one thing led to another, and she just started getting into it. And
so how long, like this, because this is I'm curious because I never get to really talk to anybody that was ever on the other side, like against hunting. So this is kind of interesting to me. So it was like it took her like what, a couple years to get over to being accepted of it, or
well, I mean, I never told him to not do it or anything like that. Like if he went out and did it, that's fine. I just didn't really want to be any part of it. But yeah, it was probably like, I don't know, probably 5, 6, 7 years or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's funny because I like it now, and I think it's made our relationship stronger and better. But I mean, I always have a built-in hunting buddy. Mm-hmm. So it's awesome with the same kind of moral standards as I have. Now her desire to get up in the morning to go, especially for turkeys, as the season progresses, because you're getting up at 3:00 in the morning.
I'm not a morning person.
It's a little bit hard for her to get going, but yeah, for everything else, I think that her mindset has just kind of melded with mine, and it's just made us a better couple.
If you look
all around,
yeah. if you look at like us, Cary, as old school hunters and guys, the majority of the interactions we ever had with anti-hunting people or people who did not like hunting, it's only for a few minutes. Like I feel like we never ever get enough time to explain ourselves correctly and explain our story. That's kind of why I asked, like, how long did it take? Because I don't know, how long it would take to get somebody to really understand kind of why we do it, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, it didn't really take that long, but it was kind of just like, okay, it's fine, I understand, but I didn't want any part of it. And it really wasn't until, I think it was even like the first deer that he shot, I still didn't really have any click to it, but I think it was maybe the second deer, when I was a little bit more hands-on, then I was like, you know what, actually, this is not really what I thought. So, And now, I mean, like, I think my favorite part, I love skinning a deer. And I don't know if that's weird or not, but I genuinely enjoy the skinning process. I think it's my favorite. I don't really like the butchering part, cutting it up. I let him do that.
Well, you ground it though.
Yeah, like I ground the meat up and stuff, and we packaged it. But I can't say that I really care for like butchering and even out in the field, like field dressing. I kind of get a little queasy about that. But again, I mean, I've only had a couple opportunities, but I definitely genuinely enjoyed skinning skinning the deer.
It was pretty obsessed with watching Dexter, so I should watch myself.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is a cool story to tell, and I don't think there's enough, because I mean, I don't think we actually convert a lot of people over to our side these days, but I mean, yeah. I think this is a cool story. She goes from being a PETA supporter to making the best strings in Canada. So I'm on board.
Easily the best. She's going to make me one as soon as we're off here. She's going to make one for the new bow because I have that. Because one of the things is I told Jared, I said, don't put any strings in with the bow. Mm-hmm. And he knows that, but Dan packaged the bow and he goes, oh, shoot. He said, there's already 2 strings in there. I said, take them out. So, but he threw in a couple little extras like a string keeper that they're offering now and for when your bow is unstrung and just keep it in place. And then these cool little leather things that fold over and it has like a built-in thing of wax in there. So just kind of pinch it between your fingers and run it up and down your string, and it waxes your string because the strings is melted right onto this little piece of leather.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I want to order another. I want to order another Tolkien. I want to get a 64-inch whip takedown. So I got.
Oh yeah, dude, you'll probably love that. My buddy Jamie, he just got a 62-inch whip. And he has been obsessed with getting a bow with green glass, right? Just been obsessed with it. So he asked Jared. Jared said, yeah, we can do that. So they built him a 62-inch whip takedown. And it's green glass. And it has Osage overlays with them. And it's got micarta in the riser, but it also has like the heel cap and the thumb resters are Cody. And it's absolutely beautiful bow, and he's in love with that thing. And he came from shooting real short longbows and recurves to go into a 62-inch bow, which is long for him. But he said, I just love this thing. It's like butter.
When did you order this pica? Like, how long is the lead time right now?
I think I ordered it when did I order that? Like February. I think February I ordered it. So February, March, April, May, June. Yeah, it was done.
Well, that's not bad.
It was done in it was done like 3.5 months. I remember though when Tolkien's, see the funny thing is when 2007, I think I was at a shoot, or 2005. And I was at a big shoot in Quebec and a guy had a Tolkien whip there and he was letting people shoot it, and I took a few shots and absolutely fell in love with that bow. And he's saying, okay, can I have my bow back? And I'm kind of holding it saying, can I just kind of keep it for a little bit? So anyway, I fell in love with it, but I couldn't afford one at the time. And but back then it was like 4 to 6 weeks for a bow.
Mm-hmm. Oh, when I ordered my Chinook, I think I had it, like I ordered it and it was like freaking 40 days or something. And I had it in my hands. Like they hammered it out. And then I started talking about Tolkien on here, and now the lead times went up. So
yeah, I know. And that's funny too, because Jamie and I have done a couple of review videos, and I always blast about them on social media. And Jared said, he said, I got like 16 orders saying that, they came from you, or you referred them and stuff. And he said, thanks for making everyone's lead times longer.
Well, I think Tolkien's are the most underrated bow going. I just don't think they get enough shine. Like they do such a good job on building them bows. Them designs are so good,
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, if you Google any bow, doesn't matter what custom bow it is, any bow, you're going to find good, bad, right? Mm-hmm. But the thing is about a Tolkien is you never hear anything bad, ever. It doesn't matter. You can hunt the internet down and you'll never hear anything bad about a Tolkien or Jared and Dan as bowyers in general. They're just good, salt of the earth guys. And Jared even shot one of a triple T string on his pica for a while. Now he said he's shooting their string just because he should, right? Because they sell them.
Yeah.
But he just said that there's a difference. He said, I'm not telling people not to shoot a Flemish string, but he said it'll have a different sound. And it's just a quieter thud, right? The Tolkien stock string, as you know, kind of has that higher pitch kind of ping.
Yep.
When you shoot them. And yeah.
But I was telling Mindy, like, they do a great job on their strings. They build nice strings, but they were just,
They do.
The strand count was too small. And what I was having problems with was my knocks were really loose. And and I ended up having to just put a triple T on it to kind of get back away from that. But like, there's nothing wrong with Tolkien strings. They were just thinner than I was used to, you know?
Yeah. They're like friggin' guitar strings. And that's probably why they have a little bit of that different. It's not loud. It's not loud. It's just a different sound. And it's a little bit of a higher pitched resonance, I think. And the only thing I don't like about Mercury is I think it might be good if it was like 14 strand or 16 in a string, but 8, they just don't last as long. Like if you shoot a lot, and I shoot every day, so sometimes twice a day. So if
like when I first started out making the strings, and we were kind of doing some testing here, like in the laneway I did a 10 strand string.
10 strand, but 14 pads in, like it was 10 strand, 14 in the loop. So a padded loop string.
Yeah. And Cary, he said he really liked it compared to the other ones, but after, I don't know, it was a couple of months, I think he was shooting it, and it just, you could see the wear
just on either side of the serving, eh?
Yeah.
And it just gets furred up and wore out. And I mean, it's only because that strand count, like Cody and Trevor did a lot of testing together, I think. And they and Trevor did a ton of testing and just come up with the formula that 14 strand D97 is the best all around performing workman string that you can get. There's some that are going to be faster, some that are going to be slower, some that are going to be noisier, some that will be quieter, but for across the board, the 14 strand D97 with the recipe that he builds the strings at, it's just the best all around string.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
So,
yep.
I mean that string that Mindy shot or built, you still shooting that one?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I actually need to order a couple more. I'm going for caribou, and I want to bring a spare string. So.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. That's the one bow that I really do want to try. A friend of mine in Quebec, he has a Chinook, and he said that when he comes down to shoot, he'll bring it down, because I think that's the only bow that they make besides, well, longbows. I mean, anything that I would want to shoot, that's the only one that I really want to try. Like I've tried a whip, and a whistler is just between a pica and a whip, and I have picas, but I really want to try a Chinook.
What's
like I don't have a monster rocket launcher draw like you have, but I would imagine when you're at full draw with that Chinook, those limbs are friggin' laying flat back.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I rip the limbs right off pretty much every time. It's pretty long.
Yeah, because that's how the Chinook is designed, actually. Go ahead.
Yeah, it is. That's how, like when I talked to Dan originally, I said, hey, I got this 30, just a touch over 31-inch draw. I'm like, is this thing going to take it? He says, oh, it'll take it. And I remember when I first started shooting, I got my wife to take some pictures of the limbs, and man, they're wide open. So it's pretty cool. What's your lead time?
That's how they build them. That's how they build them, though.
Yeah, that's right. What's your lead time on strings right now, Mindy?
Right now it's about like a week, a weekish. It varies. It really depends. Like sometimes I get just like tons and tons of orders, and I'm like, a couple weeks, and then other times I'm like, 2-3 days. So it varies for sure.
Mindy's biggest problem, Wace, is she is very, very, very timid about tooting her own horn on social media. And I said, you really, she has so many reviews and so many people that love her stuff and her wood arrows. I said, you just need to get a little more active and get that out there and stuff. And like Jason Samkoviak, he threw a shout out on one of his podcasts, did a little intro at the beginning talking about her strings and how, they're the best ones that he's seen and stuff. And she ended up getting a shit ton of orders from his little shout out. So I said, like, I try to do it as much as I can, but I can only do it so much. And I told her, I said, you just have to get a little more, active on social media and keep pushing this, because
there's a reason that she's on. You guys are on here right now because I was telling Mindy before, like, I've shot strings from Scotland and all over the United States, and she makes by far the best strings I've ever shot. And I mean, I'm not just saying that. Like, and you can notice a difference when you put a string on a bow. And I had a string one time. I can't remember even who made the damn thing, and I put it on a bow and it sounded like a shotgun. Like, I shot one arrow and I took it off. It was just the worst.
Yeah.
So the strings, people think like, oh, stick bow, it's simple and it's easy and this and that, and it is. But also there's different aspects. Like, you got to have a good string, man. You can't just be running around with some of the strings that these guys are. It's you're going to end up actually blowing a limb off, which I have done as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, exactly. And she's kind of perfected her little, like, Trevor taught her, and then Mindy made a few little tweaks of her own. And I mean, it's just individual things, right? Just the way that she makes her twists. Maybe it's the fact that she has like little tiny carny hands and she can get right in there and is very meticulous at what she does. Like, with my big old meat hooks, I can never make anything that would look anything close to what she can put together.
So if for anybody that wants
that's the whole thing.
Yeah. So for anybody that wants to order a string, go on Mindy's Instagram page. It's St. Lawrence Archery, right, Mindy?
It's St. Lawrence Traditional.
St. Lawrence Traditional. You had it as St. Lawrence Strings, but I'm dyslexic. So
yeah.
So go on there and you guys can. She has like any string color. You guys can do yellows, greens, blues, anything you want, and she'll whip it up for you. And just you have to get your overall length of your string, loop to loop, if you have an existing string, and if you don't, I'm sure Mindy can just figure it out with your bow and your knock size, and she'll build you up some strings and get them shipped out. Super easy.
Yeah, and it's important to that people let her know knock size, because that is a make or break thing, as you know, right? Like, if you have a serving that's too small or too big, it's just a nightmare. And there's that, and then also if you're shooting a Tolkien, that's a whole other thing. Like, it's good that people tell her exactly what model of bow that they have, because as you know, Tolkies have the smallest tips in the friggin' world.
Yep. Yeah,
you definitely need your tips to match the bow that you've got, because if you do like a standard longbow loop, it's going to be too big, and then you run the risk of it potentially popping off or something. So.
Yeah. Have you ever seen pictures of guys? I think it was trying to use D97 or Fast Flight Plus on the older bows, and them strings pull right down through the limb tips into the limb. I've seen pictures of that before. So you got to make sure you tell her what bow you're shooting.
Yeah, and that's
all that.
Yeah, and that's another thing too, is because she had a guy and he said that he had a Bear Grizzly, a new one, but there's two. There's the Bear Super Grizzly and the Bear Grizzly. The Bear Super Grizzly cannot take Fast Flight, or no, the Super Grizzly can, but the Bear Grizzly can only take Dacron. So, I mean, if she hadn't have looked into it and done some research, and she has a pretty good resource in Jeff Kavanaugh, and she asked him, and he said no. He said definitely Dacron for the Grizzly. So, I mean,
yeah, well, I looked it up, but I mean, you kind of think like the newer bows, it doesn't really matter that, they're all kind of reinforced fiber tip tips and stuff like that. But yeah, not all of them are. So
yeah, because the Grizzly, just the plain Grizzly, has just strict wood overlay, And a fast flight style string like a Dyneema, like D97, will, as you say, eat right through that.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, for sure it will. Well,
Yeah. So I also do, on my orders, I do free shipping on if you order more than one. So you can, order as many as you want and I ship them for free. And same with my arrows. Actually, all arrow orders is free shipping. So, the price that depending on what you want. So like if you, don't want it crown dipped or something like that, then, there's kind of different pricing depending on what you're looking for. But any price that I give you is on arrows. It is free shipping too. So,
I forgot about the arrow thing. Do you want to just touch on like kind of what wood you use and all that? You want to just run through it quick? Or?
Yes. Yeah, sure. So I use a premium stick of spruce at the moment, and Douglas fir. So I don't really have. I don't keep like a ton of inventory at the moment, just, cost wise. So I get, my shafts in and then when I sell through them, then I order some more. But yeah, I've got varying spines and weights. So, and I order all my stuff through Wayne at True Shaft Archery.
BC.
And he's in BC. And yeah, so I've got, they come in full length, and I've got some that are tapered to 5/16, and I have 11/32, and I've got, do I have any of the 23?
Yeah. You have some that are 11/32, and you have a bunch that are 23/64 tapered to 5/16 at the knock-in.
Yeah, so I've got a bunch here now that just came in. I think it was last week or something, and I think to eventually, I've had some people ask about carbons. I think, I never say never about adding in carbons, but just because I'm just starting out with the woods right now, I think I'll stick with the woods and kind of build up my inventory and whatnot with them, and then maybe eventually, add some carbons in.
Cool.
You also have the option where you can sell completely crown crested shafts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and if you want them just, not super fancy, just stained and some cresting on, I can do whatever you want, really.
Cool. I only shot woods for a short time, and then the guy I was getting from, they were terrible arrows. And so I gave up on it right away, and I went back to the only thing I knew, which was carbon. So, but I might have to order a set of woods off you here and give it a go.
Yeah, I can definitely whip you up some, and you can try it out.
But for sure, I need to get another.
She built a dozen woods for.
Keep going.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Cary.
I said she built a dozen woods for Malachi Kreider down in the States. Trumpkin the Dwarf, he calls himself. But that guy's like 6'4" or 6'5", and he's got a 32-inch draw. So she built him a dozen custom woods, and he loved them. So,
oh, wow. Yeah, definitely. Because that was one of the problems. I had those set of woods I got off this guy, and I had one explode on me. And I was like, yeah, maybe wood arrows ain't for long draw guys. But no, for sure. I'm going to have to get that tried out. I got to get another string ordered here too, Mindy. So as soon as we can.
Yeah, sure.
The good thing about Sitka Wayne at True Shaft is Wayne's shafts come in 34 inches long, whereas most other wood guys make them 32. So Wayne's are actually 34, which gives a lot of leeway for you ape guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Should we pin it there? That's a pretty good ending. Why don't you just plug your Instagram or your website, and same with Cary, why don't you plug yours too so people know where you can find you?
Yeah, so on Instagram, I'm St.Lawrence Traditional, on both actually, Facebook and Instagram. I don't have a website quite yet, but I'm thinking about making one. But the thing is like, especially with the string orders, it's more like you need to have a conversation about it, right? You can't really just
That's right.
do orders to the website. So I don't know if it would, I'm just trying to figure out whether it's like super beneficial for me to have it or not. But yeah, I'm on Facebook and Instagram. Just send me a message wherever, and or my email, stlawrencestrings@yahoo.com, and we can figure out all the details on what you're shooting and what you need and your color combos. I have all of the colors of D97, and I do have the B55 as well. I don't have like tons of colors in the B55 just because it's really only a handful of orders that I do for that. But, and varying spines for the wood arrows. So we can figure out what it is that you need, and then I can get it done up for you.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Cary.
and if you can't find her, I'm on Instagram at Canadian_longbow. And I do take a lot of orders for her just because there's a few more people on my Instagram than Mindy's for the moment, but her business page is growing crazy, way faster than mine.
Yeah, perfect. That's what we're trying here. I don't want to. Kind of part of me is like, maybe we should just keep Mindy under the radar so my string lead time isn't too long, So
she always gives certain people preferential treatment. So there you go.
Yeah. Cool. Well, let's put a pin in it. I appreciate you guys coming on. We got Cary on halfway through, but that worked out. So it's awesome.
Yeah. Thanks. Thank you.
Cool.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe and leave us a review. You can follow us on Instagram at Wilderness Locals. If you want to support the podcast, please check out the gear, articles, and whatever else we're up to on the website at www.wildernesslocals.net.